you could, you know.
So real quick, hi guys, Attorney Walter Knott. Unfortunately, we lost audio again from the blue microphone, but what we're going to be doing is switching over to the Logitech microphone. That way we should be good to go. So here we go. Madame, you're on the phone already. We're going to be answering questions. If you want to call in, you can always catch up and call in. The number is 407-279-1754. Something that's a little bit odd is that my audio keeps cutting out. And then when I look into the resource section of YouTube, one of the weird things that happened was that it showed that that video had already been demonetized. So I'm not sure what in the prior video where I was answering questions equated to why it should be demonetized, but apparently, there you go, me answering questions enough to demonetize it. Madame, what is your legal question? Walk me through it.
My legal question is on SSI benefits for someone that has a terminal illness. He has a severe, I don't want to say online because it's a privacy matter, it's medical, but he has several major conditions and he can't work. He can't work because of his condition.
But real quick, what's the legal question? Yeah, just summarize it down for me.
Well, if this SSI benefit or be reduced if he's paying me and I'm on retirement, will I lose anything?
So basically,
financially,
yeah.
What is the financial risk for both of us?
So basically,
legally, I thought Biden was supposed to help us out on all that. But.
Right, I gotcha. So basically, the way it would work is essentially that, you know, he could pay to you a small portion for rent, which would get him around the in-kind support maintenance rule, which reduces SSI benefits for people on supplemental security income. You could receive those benefits, but it might affect your food stamps. So if the $300 he could pay you per month is more than your food stamps, then obviously that would be a benefit. And it might not reduce your food stamps all the way to zero. So it might be to your benefit to receive some sort of payment from him. In addition, that's not going to be at the high enough level to bring in taxation to the additional money that you're receiving. So that would be your best course of action, to go ahead and receive funds on behalf of him as a form of rent to stave off the potential of basically the in-kind support and maintenance rule applying to you. And then you at the same time would get more money. And then you basically would not be at a taxable rate, but it might affect those food stamps. Yeah.
So he wouldn't lose his Medicaid. Well, see, Medicaid and SSI in Florida are hooked together, like you just mentioned in one of your videos. So would I be jeopardizing his Medicaid by?
No, you would not.
Are they considering me helping him because I have a house?
Yes, absolutely.
Furniture and I mean, like. I can't help that. I mean, everybody has a house furniture. Even if you lived in a halfway house, you have furniture.
Well, I got to be honest.
I'm not rich or anything. But.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I work with people all day long that don't have even clothing above the waist. So I look, you got to understand, the one thing he has to worry about is in-kind support maintenance rule. It's not going to go ahead and affect his Medicaid. But that's the one thing you have to worry about. And it does apply to you. Furniture, no furniture, front yard, backyard, none of that matters so long as he has a room.
Okay, so he wouldn't get kicked completely off SSI though.
He would not get kicked off of SSI at all. They would just do 1/3 reduction.
If he puts down as rent, then he can keep most of his check.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And what is the rule that Biden is trying to had planned to create about people who, well, married couples really? We're not a married couple yet or anything, but if we were to marry, I would marry him for legal purposes. So
don't marry him. Don't, because you're going to potentially put him in a harmful way of having what's called a deeming of spousal or of the spouse. You don't marry him. You're going to hurt him.
Oh, that would hurt.
You want to put the house into a trust that he can ultimately, get when you pass away. That's fine, but don't marry him.
Oh, okay. Well, that solves that. I mean, not crime, marriage potential or anything, but no offense to him, but it's not. I feel like because I'm a childless widow that I have no one to leave my house to, and he deserves a place if I die.
I understand. I understand.
Here.
So what
if I die without if I did a trust, it's going to be around $600 or something. I guess.
I mean, it depends on what kind of trust you want to set up, but it shouldn't cost $600 to set up a trust.
What kind of trust should I? What's the name of the trust? What's the type of trust?
I don't know what his age is. That's a factor, but honestly,
62.
He's what age is he?
62, and they just sent him a review letter. Like you review every 7 years, you know.
You're gonna be
So
they're gonna put him through a CDR, and through that CDR.
What's a CDR? What's a CDR?
It's a continuing disability review. Let's do this because there's been over 25 phone calls since we've been on the phone of people calling in. Let's do this. Catch up with me next week. We can go through what a CDR is, what kind of trust funds he should, potentially look into with you for asset, placement for the house, etc. But let's do that next week because there's so many people calling in.
So living here and paying rent won't hurt his check? No,
it won't hurt his check.
But the CDR, the doctors are going to back him up on what he's got.
Probably
he's
not.
Got a terminal,
Probably not.
He's got a terminal illness.
Those are SSA doctors. Everything almost always seems like it gets bumped to some degree. I haven't had good luck with SSA doctors for over 9 years with just my own firm.
Well, he's got an incurable disease, and it's an immunology type thing. So.
Here's the thing. I don't think you can benefit from it. We look at these things. Well, I mean, is it terminal in the sense of he has a clock above his head, or is it terminal in the sense of he's going to die with it 20 years from now?
Oh, he called. I don't know. I mean, they made advances for extending life, but he doesn't take medication, so he might die in the next few years. And he also had smoked, and they were looking at him at metastatic cancer. That's on his record right now. So
all right.
We don't know if he got it, but
well, I tell you what. Yeah, I'm going to grab the next call, but call me next week on Thursday. We can go into what a CDR is and talk about trust funds as well.
Okay, I had no clue. It was Thursday, and that's the day you do this.
Yeah.
Okay, now it makes sense.
Yeah, no worries. I'll catch you a little bit later. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, let me get the next one real quick. There's so many here. Here we go. And calling. Here we go. We're going to take the next call. I knew that there was going to be a lot this week because there were so many people that called in through the week, and I had to redirect. But let's see if we can get this person on the phone. We're on the second ring. Let's see if we can get them on the third ring and go ahead and answer some questions. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott. We are live on YouTube. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process. And also, very important, would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to go ahead and run hearing questions with you?
I've got a couple questions, actually, if you could answer them for me.
Sure.
My wife and I both receive SSI.
Okay.
And the marriage penalty is killing us.
Yeah.
Because we only get like $5.90 each a month, and trying to pay all our bills and all that. And I'm wondering, are they ever going to do something about that or not?
All right, so what you're asking is a very complex political question that I can answer immediately with very simple terminology. We were promised the idea of passing the Supplemental Security Income Restoration Act. That was pushed forward. That was part of the agenda as presented by the Biden administration before he became president. Each senator, each House rep that brings forward a version of that, which has the kill-off option for getting rid of the marriage penalty, gets rid of it completely. No more somebody sitting at the SSA having to calculate and figure out who's married. No more of that, just gone. Each senator and House rep that brings it forward cannot make it out of committee with that. They can't make it to the floor, and that's because this administration is just passing, for the most part, very, very large bills or ultra mega yacht-sized whale bills into law. So unfortunately, what was promised originally as part of the plan, albeit it is his first year, has not come true. I do not foresee it necessarily coming true in the near future, except here's the only hope that you can hold on to. Number one, midterm elections, which will decide his presidency, happen at the end of November. Okay, that's number one. He's going to need to do some promises, some changes to get people back on the side of Democrats, because essentially Democrats have taken a huge step down. They were doing really well while attacking Trump because Trump had mistakes and they could go after him. They're not doing very well going and leading with Biden because basically we went from a country that is now having a financial crisis that's going to make it even more difficult for those who are on benefits to even survive, which means you, especially with the marriage penalty rule. So they're not promoting any increases in benefits for SSI, SSDI, widows benefits, etc. right now. So what I would say to you is this: your only real potential hope would be up until and through November, or right around November of this year, because what they're saying is that there will likely be a switchover in the Senate. And if the Senate goes Republican, then they will be passing 0 bills and Biden will become a lame duck president. And what that means is that basically the marriage penalty will have to wait until the next president comes in, whether it's the same president or a different Democrat or a different Republican or the same Republican in 2024.
So basically, it doesn't look like it's going to really happen.
It doesn't. Yeah, because it's stuck in committee. And, a lot of people vote these politicians in with the idea that the politicians are going to push rules, bills through committees, that they're going to come up with brilliant ideas, make and shake, and make it all come together and do stuff. They don't. They're stuck mostly doing administrative stuff to reply to little problems that basically grew bigger and bigger due to inability of government to respond to the people's needs, which means that they don't get to focus on the future stuff, which is stuff like SSI Restoration Act. SSI was put in place by Nixon. If you look at the numbers of growth, it's stagnated significantly. The whole point of the SSI Restoration Act is not to give SSI people, a big bonus, a big boom. It's only going to give you essentially what it's supposed to be based on the metrics of the increase or the decrease in the dollar. Ironically, you live in poverty as a result of incompetence created by politicians.
Yep, definitely. So they basically have their hollow promises just to get your vote.
It appears to be that way. I can't promise that it will stay that way, but you and I both know when it comes to this election stuff. I mean, look, if 2022 doesn't go Biden's way, if it really doesn't go his way, he'll probably be impeached. If it does go his way, there's always a chance for SSI Restoration Act, but let's call it like it is. If he was going to do it, he would do it now when he's got the Senate and the House,
Right. Are they possibly going to have any more stimulus checks?
So here's my theory on that. All right, when you went to high school, middle school, and you had somebody applying for like one of those like, I want to be the president of the class kind of, positions. They reduced the price of the candy machine, reduced the price of the soda machine, all that stuff. Well, Biden's got a problem. He is at the lowest amount that he has ever been for approval. The Democrats are already presenting basically potential figureheads who could replace him for the 2024 election. He's swimming because Kamala Harris is not somebody that's pulling weight. Rather, she's more of an anchor. So he's got a problem. And the problem is, how does he support the Democratic Party? And he can do that by doing another stimulus, which will make the people think that the Democrats heavily promote the liberal agenda, which I don't think they do. I think my identity of being a liberal person does not necessarily translate to the modern Democrat. I think the whole system went like this, and the Republicans got closer to being liberal, and the Democrats got farther away from it into this almost like way out there culture of things I don't understand. It's not what it used to be. I think some of the new younger Democrats are promoting a lot of ideas that are great, but they have no real understanding of how to fund them. And I think that's hurting them because they're coming out with these BS bills that are like, hey, we're just going to have the Treasury create a magical coin and then attribute $1 trillion to that coin and then have another government agency purchase that coin from that government agency. So it's just they're not totally grasping how to do politics. And what I've started to realize is that, like with the SSA, a lot of people, when I ask at the SSA, what is the definition of severe for you for this? They don't know it. I think if you were to ask politicians, what is the definition of a bill to a lot of them? Or how do you successfully get a bill through Congress, through the committees, onto the floor? I don't think they would have an answer. And I think that's probably the most important question we could ask any politician that intends to actually go into Congress, whether it's the House or the Senate. So to answer your question, the best I can, I had high hopes. I was expecting magic. Not only did magic not happen, but it appears like he's stuck in the mud and he's just trying to survive right now. And everything that was created with the potential of having it in it, they just chopped disabled and chopped retired out of it completely. So
too bad some of them couldn't try to live off what we have to make instead of the bloated money that they make for, not even doing their job right.
well, you got to keep in mind too, like the way it works is this: when people go to do that job, they usually either one have a big following of people that just like who they are as a person, or B, there's some sort of legal entity that's into that sort of, giving big speeches and smiling for the crowd and yada yada yada.
Right.
I've never excelled at the giving big speeches and smiling for the crowd. In fact, my channel has always had fewer subscribers than it probably should have, over 3,000 plus videos being created over an 8 to 9 year period. And it's like that because I tell people the truth. I show them the numbers, which ends up pissing them off, and then they don't want to subscribe. But they keep watching now, which is good. We're going in the right direction. So what I would say is this: the politicians that we have are not trying to fix the problems of the poor and the low income. They are trying to survive to the next chance they get to be voted in. Because if they get voted out, there's a lot of law firms out there that will not hire most of those attorneys that are working in politics. And a lot of those kids that are going into politics that are in politics that basically have no legal training, have no doctorates, don't have a master's, any of that stuff, they get out of this job, they don't have real options outside of it other than some think tank or super liberal or right-leaning group that will pick them up. Maybe a TV show, because that's what they're good at. They're good at the TV show stuff. So as a result, they fear that. They fear getting out into the world and not having that golden parachute that's going to go ahead and lift them up into the sky.
Go from a president to being a huckster.
Well, I mean, think about it. Trump was a big smiling TV guy. He fit that role well, but he wasn't a real politician, which got him in trouble all the time because he would always make statements that would hurt himself because he was always, saying things that were hyper aggressive. He got a lot of judges angry with him because he would go after judges. He got a lot of attorneys angry with him. A lot of attorneys he threw under the bus. That didn't help him. He didn't play the game as well as he should have, but that's also Trump. That's that guy. He represented, I'm going to do what I want to do, 1980 CEO. And a lot of people like that because they knew exactly what he was thinking, which we never know with any of these other politicians. We didn't know what any of the other Republicans were thinking. We didn't know what any of the other Democrats were thinking realistically throughout this process. We always knew what he was thinking. That's the one big thing that people loved about him above everything, above the freedom speeches, above the defense speeches, above the future of America speeches, above all of that. People loved one thing about him, and that was that you knew exactly where he stood when he was standing there. And sometimes you hated what he was standing for, but at least you knew what he was standing for. Whereas with President Biden, none of us really know what's going on there. I have no idea what his agenda actually is.
So. I don't think he knows what's going on half the time. I mean,
yeah, and I feel bad for him.
And he's just, he loses his train of thought worse than I do, and that's saying something. So, I mean.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the marriage penalty. He's got, how many mansions does he have? I mean, not that that's a bad thing, too. We want all the poor, the middle class, the upper class, the super rich to do well. The poor don't make money if the super rich aren't making money. A lot of people don't realize that. It's a relationship of income strategy. And what I don't think a lot of Americans understand is that in order to make money and create a business and grow a business to get people working, that's the fundamental. The fundamental is not the benefits that come from it. The fundamental is people have to work to pay for these benefits, which is why I did that other video of 2.7% of people are paying into the system for every one person that's receiving. 2035, it's going to be 2.3%, or 2.3 people are paying into the system for every one person receiving. People don't understand that there's a damn problem and there's no solution on the table, and nobody even has the cojones to sit down and try and figure it out on a piece of paper that's probably going to piss off the rich and the poor to have a long-term solution. Nobody wants to be the bad guy.
Right. And Pelosi, I saw something they had on their interview with her. Financially, she's not hurting either.
Oh, she's super
Definitely.
rich. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Look,
all are. It just seems like, we've got a bunch of super rich or very rich people, and they're up there with all their money, and it's like we're sitting down here, and if I feel like we're the peons or something, just kind of grasping for scraps, and they just, throw them down when they want. That's kind of the way it feels.
I don't know if it's when they
Everybody's
want.
on pins and needles, waiting for a stimulus or waiting for an increase and waiting for this, and we're all waiting on them, and they're sitting there with all their money, and it just seems like they don't care.
I think,
You know,
yeah, I agree with you. I think the politicians don't get to choose when they want to do nice things for the people. I think they do them out of desperation and fear of not getting hired to do the same job next year. And I think the reality
right?
is that people actually control and have all the power. And because of that, they do all these tactics to make people feel incapable of changing the law, incapable of changing the future. That's what I want to do, and I never get to it because I'm constantly working. And I actually I can look up on the big computer behind this laptop, but releasing the how to write a bill. And there's a couple of videos coming out that I'm really excited with for everybody on YouTube. Number one, I'm doing the history of VA benefits, all the way back to when they got off the ship, people got injured, and what they promised to those people who fought 100 years before America was even the Constitution even existed. There were VA benefits. A lot of people don't realize that VA benefits are one of the oldest, if not the oldest, American tradition benefits that exist on Earth. So I'm doing a history video on that. I'm also doing the video on how to write a bill, how to pass it through Congress. The whole point here, guys, is to show everybody. Again, in the Garden of Eden, thank you for donating the $5. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So here's the thing that
I talked to you
oh,
before about writing a bill because you were at a gas station. There was we had a hurricane coming your way,
yeah,
and I talked to you before because my son died of sepsis,
oh,
and I'm trying to do a bill and trying to get you told me that to keep on the Constitution their website there, and I'm on there and I'm watching for that because I'm going to try to write that and get it through and get them to work with me. So a lot of different things going on.
the most
But I want to thank you because you really, really, were giving me good advice.
good. The most important thing I can do for everybody that does watch this channel is to get those videos up on how to pass a bill, how to write a bill, all that stuff. Because the truth is, it's not that hard. The only tough part about it is looking up the other laws that need to be changed to make your law work. And even that, when you
Right.
have, and I found a bunch of tools that you can use to just find it by, and it's so much easier now because of Google searches, Westlaw, LexisNexis, all that stuff. But and Cornell has amazing, just massive amount of the law already published and searchable, and it's easy and it's free. So the point is, I want the most important thing I will probably do in my life, if or maybe the second, would be to go ahead and show you guys how to write or how to write a bill. And then the second, and then probably the most important thing I'll ever do in my life is write the first major template constitution that's used by future space nations for their essentially their population. But you're right. I need to get that up loaded online, and the big focus has been loading all the videos to Facebook. But this weekend I'll try and make sure I take care of that, get those rolling so that they come out in series form and you have them.
Yeah, I've been telling everybody, to sign up. I can't even talk to subscribe to your page and everybody, and try to get the word out and everything, and everybody out there's listening. Spread the word.
Thank you.
I mean, Walter knows what he's talking about. He'll lead you straight. He won't mess around. So
Yeah, I appreciate that because I get a lot of angry calls from people who have been taught by the TV to scream at people that tell them something different. And the weirdest thing about it is, if I quote professionals in the industry, if I quote the math, and then they see something different on CNN or Fox, I become the devil. And there's something about this TV anger that's getting more and more fierce, that's turning people into werewolves. I mean, I got torn up yesterday by somebody who just screaming at me at the top of the lungs over the phone while I was at the firm. I was just like, it made me wonder, is the YouTube thing the right thing to be doing? But the reality is, I think I've helped a lot of people with knowing the truth. And I think that that's important
Right.
because, a lot of these government websites, they don't publish the reality. They'll publish numbers, but they don't publish the why the numbers are important, you know? So they might do a quick fact sheet, but that's not every year they should have a council that gives an entire series of videos explaining what each number means, why it's doing that, what's happening, what could be doing to improve it in the future, where do we want it to go? There's none of that out there. So
People want the truth so bad and everything like that. Just from my experience, seeing your videos and talking to you, that's the place to go to get the truth. I mean, I've watched a lot of the other videos and the different ones, and won't mention any names, but I have, and I always come back to watch yours because I could always get the straight scoop on everything.
Yeah.
And I look for the truth, and that's, you've got the truth. The others don't.
Yeah.
People want the truth. They know where to go now.
That's true. It's something's happening where a lot of people are coming over this way. And I don't know if it was the $2,000 Thanksgiving, stimulus or the $1,400 Christmas stimulus, but there was so much BS that was going on from these other channels. And the only people that are doing okay are those channel people. And remember, they made the B2B is over 300,000 viewers. LA Late is over 1 million. And then a lot of them, subscribers rather. I mean, a lot of them, that is their only job in life, is to produce media that teaches you how to basically go ahead and watch their stuff. Whereas my stuff is more aligned with telling you guys what I'm seeing, how the numbers interact with it, what articles are being published, and the problems that are going forward with it. And the weird thing is that in the very beginning of this channel, people hated what I had to say because it was not what other people were saying. And I didn't sell hope. I still don't sell hope. I don't think hope is the key to being happy. But I will say this. Wow, Shirley, thank you. Shirley donated $9.99, and Faith Moore donated $2.99. Shirley and Faith, thank you so much for being a part of this channel. You guys have been with this channel for a long time, and I really, really, really appreciate that. Guys, the big thing too, I'm going to be doing a video, and I started to cut it up into smaller pieces, but I have kind of figured out which countries are the best ones to move to as a result of their laws, because each country has different laws with the US of how you get certain benefits when you go there for your SSI benefits, SSDI benefits, and retirement benefits. And America is not even close to being the best nation to live in. So I'm going to show you guys where you could potentially move to actually have a much higher standard of living. And then when you move, just be aware that at some point the benefits may be reduced because the retirement trust fund is running very, very low for its 10-year, situation. So, but still, because you'd moved already and already were there, frankly, you would be better positioned because it's just so much cheaper to live in these other countries. And honestly, a lot of the food production is better. A lot of the stuff that they feed us here is infused with so much sugar and junk that's just it's not healthy anymore. It's like we live in a carnival, and we're constantly waiting to get on a ride, and sometimes the ride goes awry and then we have a personal injury claim, and sometimes we get off it and then we get pushed out of the park and we have to stand there and wait for our next shot to get in. But it just seems like people are not living at the same happiness, humanistic, basic emotional reasoning for living that they used to, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, but I know this: when we had farms and people working, they had purpose. But now we don't have that same purpose. Everybody's working for some company that makes some product that they don't connect with, unless they're in a higher up executive position, in which case they either connect with it or they're faking it to just get the check. We don't have Silicon Valleys popping up all over the place because people aren't passionate about products that are being made, because we don't have essentially a lot of the technology and future thinkers in this country anymore, because other countries keep snarking them away from our universities, when they graduate. So what happens is, we end up with basically plan B people that can't innovate things, create the future of things. I mean, think about how many people are excited to work at Starlink or Tesla or SpaceX or Blue Origin or one of those. The future of all this stuff. Now think about how many people are excited about not having a job to basically sit there and do service-based communication where they have to talk with people on the phone about how those people are unhappy with their product and they've got to run customer support through this lineup of angry customers. I mean, think about that. That's what they do all day. That's not living. If they made products that work, you know what I mean? At what point do we blame the programmers for making crap products? At what point do we blame customer service for not having answers? And then when do we throw all that out and blame the CEOs for making junk? Wow.
Yeah.
Benny Hill, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. He donated $19.99. Guys, these are huge donations, and I really appreciate it because honestly, this is helping me go ahead and push everything forward and specifically buy stuff for the dogs. And they're loving the meat, so that's the big thing that I've been buying to try and cook for them. But anyway, good sir, there's a ton of people calling in. Give me an outro here. Give me a great outro. Say something cool. Go ahead.
Me. Just everybody should, pay attention to what you have to say. These other shows and these other people, they're just jerking you around. They really are. And you're just hanging there, and one gives a shout out, the other does about 40 different stories and add on to this. Walter, what he does is he tells you the truth, keeps it straight, bloody punches. If you want to know what's going on, this is a man to listen to.
I appreciate it, good sir. I really do. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to give me a call. I'll walk you through what can be done about them. We should, and I started to, but I never got a chance to finish it. But you and I should get together and write the first modified SSI Restoration Act bill that includes even more rights and benefits for those on supplemental security income. And we should submit that to Congress and see who bites, and then begin the process of creating leverage against them so that they do have to pass it.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, good. Good, sir. I will catch you a little bit later. You have a wonderful, wonderful night, okay?
You too.
Thank you, good sir.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Bye. All right. Bye-bye.
So just so you guys know, the SSI Restoration Act is not the end-all be-all when it comes to essentially, basically I got to take this call. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott. We are live on YouTube. Would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to run hearing questions? And just remember to use a fake name throughout this process. Go ahead and start.
Hi, Attorney Walter. My name is David, and I do have a specific question.
Sure. Yes, sir.
I am in Illinois,
Okay.
and I am on a 3-year, disability allowable, and they are going to be doing a review in the 3-year time frame. What should I expect from the 3-year time frame, or what should I be looking out for?
All right. So CDRs are basically a review that has 2 levels. A regular CDR can come in a short form or a long form, and then a CDR CDI is where they suspect any potential fraud, in which they include an investigator, a special agent to review you. So first and foremost, make sure there's no potential fraud, either online, anything that could cause that, for your benefits, etc., working a part-time job, not reporting earnings, whatever. The next thing is this. The CDR is all about checking to see whether or not you meet the 8-step sequential process. So go learn the 8-step sequential process. It's crucial. It's the elements that dictate whether or not you'll be found disabled. Also, go learn about why you were found disabled. Specifically, were you a grid out, a vocational allowance? Were you a CAL? Were you a listing? Find why you were found disabled, because going forward for the rest of your life, they will use that as the standard and the law that existed at the time that you were found disabled as the standard as to whether or not you should remain disabled, because they consider if you still meet that standard, not the new standard, the one that they passed yesterday, 5 days from now, but the standard by which you medically met back in the day. So long as you continue to meet that standard, you will remain on Social Security disability benefits. So go learn about that standard. Now, another thing is continuous medical treatment and crisis medical treatment. Medication upkeep, going to see doctors regularly, following what they say, and then every so often you have your crisis emergency room situation because of your impairment causing you extreme pain. You have a freak out and a panic attack and you can't focus and something bad happens. A crisis on the map is also helpful to show how traditional ongoing medical treatment is not in itself enough to keep you basically on the short and narrow for doing well versus the, or I guess that would be the whatever, but versus the other idea of being able to, not function because you have to go to the emergency room. They look at a lot of these situations with time off task with vocational allowance being how much time would you be off task at a job? Would you be off an hour? Would you be off 2 hours? Would you be off 3 hours? Would you be off 10%, 15%, 20%? At what point would you be unable to consistently work at a full-time job earning substantial gainful activity? That's what they want to know. And so long as you have crisis medical treatment, it makes it harder for them to just de facto say, oh, this person could go and do it because they could just continue to receive the treatment and work. But if you have crisis medical treatment, then it makes it harder for them to say that you will consistently be on track doing the job.
Now, will they send me to a whole bunch of doctors like I had to go through in order to get approved?
They may send you to CDR or to CE appointments again, consultative examination appointments, usually for either a mental or physical or both. When you do that, if anything bad happens or the doctor is saying things that you don't agree with or whatever, something happens that you're just not happy with, you have to submit what we call at the firm a post-CE debriefing form, which is basically a form that goes through all the things that the doctor did and why some of them might not be correct. And if we submit that, we request basically via motion to reduce the weight of the evidence of that CE doctor as compared to the other medical evidence that they have on file. Therefore, the medical evidence that the doctor that you just saw, the CE doctor, the SSA doctor, gets reduced in worth of evidence. What you want your other evidence to do is then be worth more. More consideration goes into it for keeping your disability benefits, while less consideration goes into the new evidence because something happened at that CE doctor.
Should I contact my current PCP and set up appointments now to get additional tests done to prove to disability that I am still disabled?
Yes. And also with that, you want to get your doctor to fill out what's called an RFC, residual functional capacity form.
Perfect. Thank you so very much. I love your show. And again, thank you very much for being a person and an attorney for the people. Great, great show. Thank you.
Thank you, good sir. Have a wonderful night, and I'll catch you later at some point, and I hope everything goes amazingly well for you.
Thanks again, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, guys, we're going to go to they already called in. Here we go. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott. We're live on YouTube. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process. Would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to go ahead and run hearing questions with you?
Hi, I had a specific question about marriage penalty, not related to SSI. There's another marriage penalty where if you're a disabled adult child receiving benefits on a parent's record, marriage just automatically ends your benefits. I'm just wondering, if what the legal rationale for that is, and if that's something that might ever be addressed by legislation.
What is the legal rationale? Well, first of all, it's a law. It's never been purposeful, in my opinion, because the idea is that you now have a spouse that's going to take care of you. Ergo, they should reduce the benefits that you receive through basically, what your parents give you through your 18 to 22-year-old disabled adult child finding of disability benefits. So if you're looking for me to support that rule that punishes people for getting into marriage, there's not a single argument I can make in support of it. I know it. I'm not happy with it. There's nothing I can do about it in the immediate sense. So here's the thing. Nobody legislates significantly on DAC claims. Actually, let's do this. Disabled adult child claims. The one thing I want to do more is have you guys explaining from your words what these programs are, because I think you could basically simplify it for people better than me just spitting out what a definition is. Tell people what disabled adult child benefits are and how they're a little bit different from what they normally have. And then I'll kind of explain why there's not much legislation specifically on that program. But good sir, you define for me, what are disabled adult child benefits?
Well, there are benefits that instead of receiving SSDI on your own work record, you receive it on your parents' work record. If your disability onset date was prior to age 22, you can apply for SSDI, at any age and still get disabled adult child benefits as long as the onset date was prior to age 22. And, since the earnings record is on your parents, the amount that you get, can vary based on that. But there's, all kinds of special, provisos and special rules. You can get SSI. You can start off on SSI, and then it can switch to SSDI. It's a whole other layer of complexity and things to worry about.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So basically, it's a special program that lets you tap into your parents' benefits as opposed to tapping into, quarters of coverage that you've earned and worked for versus the SSI benefits of the poverty disability program. So the problem that you talk of is, what happens to benefits when somebody like you gets married to somebody else? Walk them through that.
Well, as far as I understand it, if in a situation where you're receiving SSDI on a parent's record and your disability onset date was prior to age 22, so you're a disabled adult child, you just lose your benefits. There's not a reduction like with SSI. It's just the benefits are terminated in the event of marriage. It's just sort of cut and dry like that. And it's sort of, the SSI marriage penalty gets most attention, but this one is also, there and doesn't get talked about as much. But
why do you feel that that's unfair?
Well, people who are in this situation, anyone should be able to get married, I think, regardless. So there's that overriding idea. But then specifically, people on SSI, they shouldn't get penalized. And then, I'm not saying that people with disabled adult child benefits are worse off or would benefit more. I don't think that's true. It's sort of it's a similar situation, I think, to the SSI penalty. It's just that since it's such an obscure penalty, or it's such an obscure situation, such an unusual situation, that it's sort of, I think what I'm afraid of is, SSI marriage penalty getting abolished or whatever, which is, I'm all for that, great. But then the other marriage penalty somehow sneaking through and staying there. So that's just what I would be. What I'm worried about.
So does it make sense that if somebody is disabled, remains disabled, that if they were to get married, that essentially they've lost their ability now because they're 30, 40, 50 years old to get SSDI benefits because they have no quarters of coverage built up. Their only other option is SSI. So let me ask you this. What is your monthly check, if you don't mind sharing it?
It's hardly anything. It's under 700.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
here's the ironic part of it. I'm going to tell you why it's even more unfair. So let's say you receive less than $800. Most people can receive above that in that form, but let's say you're receiving under $800. You go ahead and get married as a DAC claim that's now older. They remove your DAC benefits, disabled adult child benefits. Then your only option is to apply for SSI. But if the person that you married is making too much money as part of the spousal deeming process, then you can't get SSI benefits. And it's not that much money. So you are then locked into being poor without a choice. And you can't even get SSI benefits if your spouse makes too much money. So the idea is that if your spouse makes too much money, like, over 30 grand, then unfortunately you won't be able to get any benefits, and your spouse then has to support you. And you've now lost your
Right.
DAC benefits. You can't tap in your Title 16 SSI benefits, and you basically can't get any disability benefits unless you go and work and earn lots of quarters of coverage over a 5-year period to then go on to SSDI benefits.
Yes, and then it's also, if a potential spouse, just makes a working level income or a middle class income, like, I don't know, 30,000 is not enough to support me. So it's just, marriage is off the table, even in a situation where someone would be willing to. It's just not financially viable.
It is weird how we want Americans to live in this extreme poverty, this vow of poverty, as almost like a form of punishment for being disabled. Yet most disabilities that people have are not chosen. Whether somebody gets shot by somebody else, or they're in a car accident, or genetically they inherit it, or it's one of those things where, it develops over time physiologically inside of them. Most people don't choose to be in this situation. But yet at the same time, the government is very okay with the idea of not supporting a group of people who suffers, and suffers largely based on the misuse of funds by politicians, which is the budgeting department. It's an interesting science. I don't understand, for Republicans to claim that they love people and Democrats to claim that they're for the people. I can't find a single one of them that's been successful. Everybody points to this Bernie Sanders guy as this amazing, brilliant person. But if he were so genius, he would have won the election. If he was so genius, he would have won the election again. If he was so amazing, he would have accomplished the things that he's been talking about for his ridiculously long length of time in office. I mean, talk about a guy that has great ideas to help the people, but will never get passed.
Yeah. And, they're always talking about, one side is always talking about marriage equality, and the other side's always talking about the sanctity of marriage.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no matter pick one, you should be getting rid of these marriage penalties.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Look, it's just the more I look, the more sad I get. I think I should go into politics. Maybe I should be a judge. Blah 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 blah. And then I'm like, man, I spent so much time starting a law firm, running it, surviving COVID-19. All this junk. And it's just, all I can say is this. I mean, the people who could fix this are so tied down with student loans that they're constantly working to just pay the student loans, which is one of the largest cash cows of the United States government. So, they've got us tied down, hands, feet, neck to the ground. But the problem is people are starting to raise up, and that's why people are angry about what happened in January, because either their political party is telling them that it was okay, or the political party is telling them that it was like World War II. Neither are realistic. I just read a report. I had a report over there. Over 50% of Democrats now support the identity of having some sort of almost like World War II Japanese camps that were used to place people who essentially test positive for COVID and essentially don't have any of the injections. And that to me is called mass manipulation. When you can convince over 50% of a particular political party to put people into some sort of encampment as a result of their choices of freedom or religion or whatever, that to me, as a Jewish person, is extremely scary, because that is the same premise by which they literally walked by gun my people onto trains and then put them behind designed death camps that essentially, killed massive amounts of people in the most horrific settings you could imagine. I mean, people don't even teach the Holocaust in most schools anymore. I mean, isn't that weird? They don't talk about the gas chambers, how they made them push, things around and around until they died, how they took out their teeth and took away their shoes, how they made them dig their own graves. They don't talk about any of that. in schools and universities anymore. It's like everybody lives in this fake facade created by an agenda to push this thing that, like, the future is going to be bright and wonderful. But is it? People are afraid to talk about slavery. People are afraid to talk about, what people would do if they were starving back in the. It's just, I don't agree
Yeah.
with it. But then again, I'm in the middle. The historians of great knowledge, don't seem to be fighting for people to be part of their sport anymore. And the new political agenda people seem to be pushing this whole thing about, and I'll tell you exactly where it's going. I know the groups that are part of pushing the agenda, and I'll tell you exactly where it's going. If you can get the general population reliant on a federal entity for a long enough period, they'll lose their ability to have skills. And if they have no skills, sales skills, metallurgy skills, using machine skills, whatever skills, if they lose their skills, then they are more reliant on essentially that entity, federal entity, to go ahead and dictate to them when and where. And as a result of that, you end up in a society that becomes enslaved to its government, which means the government can make that society do whatever it wants. So, if you
Yeah, I mean,
I'll go ahead. Yeah.
China is like that. World China's divided into basically the rural peasants and then the city dwellers with quote unquote skills or education. But if you're in the peasant class, you're totally reliant on the government for everything, and it's sort of like the divide between disabled people or low income people. Like you're saying, it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's just we don't want to end up like that, where we've got feudal peasant class people.
Well, and I'll tell you the bills that they would have to pass to get us there. First and foremost, they'd have to pass some sort of population control where you didn't have the same rights to choose who you're going to be with, or how many children you're going to have, or what type of children you're going to have, whether it was male, female, or alternative X. They'd have to pass laws about restricting freedom of speech. They'd have to pass new political protection laws, giving special political protection to politicians. They'd have to pass new laws about restricting people and basically imprisoning them under slight, infractions. They would have to pass laws that would restrict people being able to leave the country, because if they can leave the country and tell other countries what's going on, that hurts. That's like North Korea's situation. They would have to go ahead and pass laws that would restrict business, that would create higher taxes against both the business and the employee. They'd have to create laws that restrict gun ownership or weapon ownership in general by the general population. They would have to restrict basically people from getting in and out of states, traveling across state lines. They would want to keep them basically tapped into that particular state. That's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize that happened with California. California practices what's called geographic control. Geographic control is where a state becomes so expensive that people have to stay there because they can't afford to even move, because the moving companies are so expensive. So if they wanted to go to a place like, New Jersey, New York, Maine, Texas, North Dakota, Florida, whatever, they can't do it because they can't afford it, because they're constantly living hand to mouth. And that is a way to control the people by making them stay there and constantly feed the monkey called taxes. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for this conversation and your time. I know there's probably other people who want to call in, so
yeah. Thank you, good
I'll
sir.
get off. And of course, yes, thank you. Appreciate it, and thank you for everything you do.
You as well, good sir. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. Okay.
You too. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. So in that time period that I was talking with the gentleman, there's been 18 missed calls. Let's go ahead and here we go. Hold on. Hey, this is Attorney Walter Knott, Disability Resolution PA. Please remember to use a fake name throughout this process. And can I answer a question, or would you like me to run hearing questions with you?
Yes, you can answer a question for me.
Sure, ma'am.
Okay, my name is Diana Ross, and I'm calling.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm calling.
Yeah.
I know about the 5.9 Social Security increase.
Okay.
But then I'm hearing something about another stimulus that's coming for people. You have to be 64 years or older, and I'm not quite that age. So can you tell me about that?
Sure. I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you. you know, as if I'm on speakerphone, but it sounds like a 5.9 COLA increase is.
Okay.
Oh, perfect.
Again, my name is Donna Ross, and I'm calling you because I know we were made aware of the 5.9% increase in COLA. But of course, most people are aware that those who are on Medicare have to pay $170 out of that increase. So it doesn't leave us much money. But anyways, I was informed today, I saw something else, somebody talking, and they said outside of the 5.9% increase, they said that there's something special for people that 64 older. Now, I'm not 64 yet, but I was told that they were supposed to be getting some stimulus from them. What have you heard about that?
So I haven't heard anything about 64 plus. 64 would be an odd age too, because, you know, 65 is basically the cutoff for people who were born way back in the day to be found, you know, to get their full retirement. And then their maximum retirement is at essentially 70 years old. But most people born nowadays are getting their full retirement at 66 to 77 in some months.
Right. No, I'm talking about, this is something they said Congress has passed. This is what I heard the YouTubers say, that Congress has passed the bill. If you're a certain birthday, you get it on this day, you get it on that day. But from my understanding is, for people who have been receiving Social Security for a while, not the new people, but the people who have been receiving it for a while, that they will get their money on the date, the increase on the date that they normally get it. But for people who have not, who are new, then they will be assigned a certain date if your birthday is between this date and that date. But then outside of the COLA, I heard that they're doing an increase, that they're giving a stimulus for people who are 64 years or older. Have you heard anything about that?
I haven't heard a single thing about that at all.
That's what I figured. Somebody, it was just okay.
Yeah, I haven't heard.
Thank
I mean,
you.
you know, look, here's the thing. Social Security recipients, fixed income people need an additional stimulus because the 5.9 isn't enough. But I've heard nothing about a bill being introduced, a bill being passed, becoming law, a signature by Joseph Biden as to the future of giving a benefit increase for people who are 64 and above. I've heard none of that. In fact, I don't even think there's anything on the table that's in the committees right now to do that. So,
you know, and I really do appreciate your comment. That the people have to understand is that I just personally believe, and I had mentioned this before, how I personally believe that through COVID and through being on lockdown, I'm not going to argue the point whether it was needed or not, but I will say that a lot of people were psychologically conditioned. I will say that. And a lot of people have lost their backbones, and they don't understand that they work for we the people. They are public servants, but they make us feel like we have no control, but we do have control. We do have a voice. It's democracy, and it's our vote. And when speaking of voting, let me say this real quick. I have no problem if people been here 25, 50 years, whether they came here legal or not. If they was 25, 50 years and they have contributed to America, I think they should be allowed to vote, because a lot of them worked the fields, they were nannying for children. But we have this, they want this influx of people. We had over 50,000 people cross over the border, and now New York and different places, they want to make it legal for these people to be able to vote and all that. I don't feel that is fair. So, and I feel that will hurt the American citizens more than help them. And when it comes to voting, I think that it's just like somebody trying to come up into your house and tell you how to run your house.
right.
You know what I mean? So that's the problem that I have with this influx of people. Again, for people who've been here 25, 50 years, I think you should not go in through the side door or the back door. You need to come into the front door like everyone else. And I think maybe they can give them, a space of grace, because I don't like the way families and stuff were separated. I don't approve of that. But then, of course, on the flip side of it, I don't approve of the fact how Kamala Harris went and left people, promised to help people who was starving stuff at the border
Yeah.
and left them high and dry.
Yeah.
So, that's all I want to say. And thank you.
I agree. Look, and here's the thing, like, I don't know how to fix the issue with, because here's the thing, what you're talking about is what we use in business terms as a disenfranchising, which became a negative thing because the Republicans use it so much. But this idea that people don't get to use their vote and have the vote be worth as much because there's a lot of immigrants coming in that are now not full citizens or naturalized, and they're going to get to vote.
Right.
And my thinking with the whole situation of immigrants is this. There's a lot of people that want to come here to cause chaos. There's a lot of people that want to come here to earn a wage. There's a lot of people who want to come here to start a family. If we are truly the nation of freedom, and we want, and we have a problem, which is that people are not making enough kids. And I mean, I'm one of them. I'm 35 and I don't have any kids. I don't have a girlfriend or a wife or any of that stuff. I have two dogs, but no, there you go. Yeah. So, but the point I see is why are we not making a better effort to make the front door educate people who want to come here, and then basically get them working and paying taxes, so that basically we can go ahead and have more of a population, increasing our GDP instead of a shrinking problem of not enough kids. And I hear your thing, which is, how do you know that they're going to vote in the way that you want? And I fear that too.
Well, it's not so much the way I want. The thing is have you been here long enough to understand?
Yeah, the culture.
Certain things, how it works.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Have you been here long enough to understand the system? Do you know the different things, how things work? Because it's like you've been in your house for a while, and somebody's stepping up in your household trying to tell you how to run things. Now, of course, America is a melting pot.
Sure.
But I think they need to be more familiarized with the country before they be allowed to just do that. And I think they should have to go through proper procedures. And as far as ID, yes, I do believe people should be ID because we got sex trafficking. We don't know who we're letting into this country.
Yeah.
We had over 50,000 people slip over the border, and no one knows where they are. They just disappeared in pure air.
Yeah.
I mean, that is stuff like that kind of bothers me. And another thing that bothers me is when they shut down America is that a lot of mom and pop businesses were forever lost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Huge problem.
I feel like the one who holds the golden egg is the one who rules the world.
Yeah.
The one who makes all of your products is the ones that control the people. And then one of the politicians said that they want to bring a lot of people from the border over so they can give them cheap labor. They can have cheap labor, and it will help Americans. What is that going to do for people?
Right.
For other people, that's going to move us out of the way, and we're going to become almost as common slaves, like some of the people are in some countries where they are forced to work with no pay, or they're working with little or no pay. That's how the American system's going to be if we don't bring businesses back to America.
What saddens me is that I saw during COVID the death of a lot of culture-based businesses. Somebody even said to me, they're like, "Oh, you're Jewish, of course you're going to be a lawyer." But I don't see that as a culture-based business. What I see as a culture-based business is somebody who comes from a culture that essentially created something unique from it, whether it's a particular cuisine that you would not traditionally see in the U.S., whether it's a particular cultural background where they were teaching people how to do karate or taekwondo, whatever. And what I saw were businesses, the little businesses. I saw a lot of inner city businesses for food specifically going completely out of business. And what's sad about that is that instead of pushing towards a nation of lots of small businesses that challenge the empire businesses, we've now become even more about empire businesses. And I'll tell you, even with my field, we almost went out of business in 2021. We literally ran out of money. We ran out of money, and then we got more money and kept going. But every small to mid-sized business struggled heavily. And there were all these other businesses that culturally, I think, and that's the thing. Like when I get a chance to talk with somebody from another nation, whether it's, whatever, whether it's from Russia or China or India or whatever, it's cool because I get to see what's going on. And there's all these people out there that have the potential to add a benefit to America. But
and that's true. That's true. The thing is, it's a good idea to have different thoughts, because if everyone thought the same, there would be no planes, no trains, nothing like that.
It'd be boring,
and, if they can come over and bring, say, against different dishes or different things, America is a melting pot, and we do learn from one another. And I have no problem with educating people, but we need to educate our own citizens. Case in point, I would love to have more stimulus, but what happened to educating the people? Because until you tell people how to do better, they don't know.
True.
So along with the stimulus should have came a stimulus for educating people how to start their own businesses and things of that nature. So if you just give people money, but you don't give us a tool on how to get ahead, then it's not going to help much. And so I think with the stimulus should come education classes and things of that nature in the inner city neighborhoods to help the people. Because here's the key. I have no problem if I'm eating at the dinner table and somebody is peeking through my window and they're hungry, I'm going to want to feed them. And I don't have a problem with immigrants. But the problem is, it's a poor mother. See, if you in the desert and you're starving, your child is hungry, and then there's another child that's starving. Now, you're going to want to, if you're a mother, you're going to want to breastfeed both of the babies, but you don't have enough milk. Okay? So it's a poor parent, a poor mother that don't take care of their own child. And so I have no problem with other countries, but the thing is, we need to clean up our own backyard. Our businesses are on financial respirators, and we cannot afford, even the mom and pops are struggling. They offered to give them a little stimulus, give them this, give them loans, give them that, and then now they're trying to pull money from them. And just all kind of reneging on everything that they said that they would do for them. And so the thing is, we need to heal. I have no problem with other people coming, but we need to heal America first.
Yeah.
This is, you know what I mean?
True.
That's the problem that I have. We need to heal our nation. We need to come together, because one thing that bothered me, Biden said in the NAACP meeting, it was on the YouTube. He said, "You blacks in a year 30-something, there's not going to be that many of you." And he says, "You're going to have to answer to the Hispanic people." He said that. It's on video.
Wow.
So I have a problem with that. You understand?
Yeah.
People don't come over here to be put over certain people. We come over here to join together as a melting pot.
Yeah.
And not that I had anything against Biden, because I really did like him, but the problem I had with him is when he said, "If you don't vote for me, you're not black." That is causing division in America.
That was,
so America, we have to heal first.
Yeah.
And maybe bringing other cultures and stuff in may help us heal, because we would be able to see things from another point of view or a different way of thinking. So there could be positive aspects to allowing other people over. But look, we have an influx of people. I'm upset because I was not able to get Golden State stimulus, but undocumented people, they were able to get it. I couldn't get it because I made a tad over $30,000. I couldn't get Golden State stimulus. And on the second Golden State stimulus, I was denied it because they said you make non-taxable income. So I'm not trying to point the finger at Governor Gavin Newsom. I do like him because, when you point a finger at somebody, there's three fingers pointing at you. And I'm not saying that he caused COVID and nothing like that. But the problem I do have, I feel like the senior citizens, people on Social Security, SSDI, PA, because I'm a widow of a veteran, railroad or whatever, I think we have been forgotten. And I think it's so wrong. You want to give immigrants $450,000? What about other people who've had a hard time? That's been discriminated against. I think it was horrible. Again, some of the things that did happen, that did transpire. We allow a lot of people over here. We knew they were illegal. We allowed them to work their fields. They took jobs that no one else wanted. Then, when we put all the other businesses in China and everything, and other places, then we want to kick them out and get rid of them. That's not fair. You knew some of them was illegal. You let them work there. Even some of the politicians were caught hiring illegal immigrants or undocumented workers.
Sure.
And then they want to all of a sudden get rid of them. And now that's unfair. But now, I feel that if people been here for a while and they have worked and they have not caused any trouble,
no criminal activity,
in cases like that, they should, I feel, be allowed to be here and remain. But this other influx of people that's coming in like that, no, we don't know who you are. We don't know what your agenda is. So that's the problem that I have. And the problem with the Democrats, and I'm not saying, well, Democrat, Republican, but it was like Biden said something else that bothered me. He said that the voting is not going to be fair. And when he said that, maybe he may mean well, but he kind of sticks his foot in his mouth sometimes. And he said the voting is not going to be fair. And I figured, how could that be? Well, if you allow a lot of immigrants to come over, undocumented workers to come over, and you allow them to vote, then it wouldn't be fair because they're going to vote in your favor. So is that what you mean? Is that what you mean? My thing is, and when it comes to the stimulus, all this green energy and all that, we need to help people who are Social Security, disability, SSI, and such like first. I have nothing against cleaning up the earth, global warming. Those are major concerns. Global warming, and all of that. But the thing is, what is green energy, putting all your money into green energy, if people can't eat?
Right.
If people don't have the money for gas, how you use gas to warm your house, you don't have the money for that, and you're freezing to death. What good is green energy? My thing is they have to be able to balance everything out and remember to keep the people first because it's about we the people. Now, I do have to applaud Biden in one aspect that he is attempting to clean up the dirty water in Michigan. A lot of people get sick, things of that nature. He wants to clean up the pipes in some apartment buildings. That most definitely needs to be done because as a child, I was subjected to lead, which caused, learning disability and I believe, some physical impairments to this day. So I do believe in making the earth more healthier. But it's not gonna. But my thing is, if you're doing you're doing railroads, you're fixing things up. You want to do this. Who are we building back better for? If you're not helping the
that's American a good
people,
point.
Who are you building back better for? You are literally breaking the backs. And now another thing they're doing, they're giving the money to the extreme poor, but they're not giving money to people like me who make a tad over $30,000 a year. And what they're trying, I'm poor because $30,000 a year in Mexico is good money. $30,000 a year in California is nothing. And this Build Back Better is breaking the backs of the middle class. If they can break the backs of the middle class and leave them out of everything, people are making $60,000, $75,000 a year. They will never reach the status of ever being wealthy. Then all that will be left is the rich and the poor. That appears to be the agenda. And the thing is, Biden has now changed the name to Build Back Better. But it appears, unless he does drastic changes, You change the name, but the agenda remains the same.
That was beautiful. Honestly, look, I mean, I would say this. I want to add free education through the master's level to your program. I want to add decreased taxation on small businesses. I want to add special loans from banks at extreme low interest rate for people who want to start businesses. I agree. There wasn't a single thing you said that you know.
All of that. And then even with the Democrats, I was surprised. They're getting some. They got inside traders. Republicans do too.
Yeah.
They got inside traders stock information. But yet you make the laws. That's like conflict of interest. Now, I have nothing against it if you're going to allow me to do the same thing.
Yeah.
If you're going to allow me to have insider trading information and with no penalty or jail time, fine. I have nothing against it. I say let them have it. But we, the American public, we want inside information too. I'm not saying that Nancy, I'm not saying that any Mitch McConnell or anybody else should be in jail. No, I don't want to see nobody go to jail or be punished. My thing is, we just want the same privilege. And with this tax thing going on, I feel that was the worst thing the Democrats could have done. When they said, well, we're going to fix it, whether Republicans, I'm not Republicans, where these big multi-businesses make sure they pay their fair taxes. Who are they hurting? The way it's set up is going to hurt the poor
and the middle class. Yeah.
It's not going to hurt the rich because the rich, the ultra rich, they got these spin master tax attorneys. And so they've been getting stimulus for years. So, and I think it's a doggone shame. The way it's been set up is to hurt us. And they promise, the problem that I have is that they promise to help the most vulnerable. Biden rode them to the White House. He would help the most vulnerable. And I just think it's a shame. It's a shame and a slap in the face. But he's going to have to really step up to the plate and show people, because I'm not going to lie, I voted Republican. I did. But I said, okay, since the Democrats are in office, you know, let us all try and work together as a team, because it is not the Republican agenda. It is not the Democrats' agenda. It's about we, the people. So I called Gavin Newsom office and I said, look, I'm a Republican. I vote Republican, but I'm not going to fight against you. Okay? I'm not going to fight against you. You've been in office for a while. You know the policy more than anybody else. Now is not the time to remove them. Now is the time to see if I can give my input and we all can figure this out and come together and work together as a team. But the problem is, so many people, be it Democrat, Republicans, or whatever, they all have their own agenda. And it's like an ego thing. Who can win? It's not about that. But one thing they all will vote on, in unity, they will all vote on pay increase, won't they?
Oh, yeah.
They will all vote on that it's okay for inside traders for them, but not for everybody else. And as they say, Leonie Helmsley said, only little people pay taxes. The thing is, there should be no big I's or little U's in government. Like I said, I have nothing against them having inside trading, but we want it too, with no penalty. It just should be fairness across the board. And like I say, I had no problem with Biden got in. I said, okay, I voted for Trump, but now that Biden's in, let's see what we can do to work with him and everybody work together as a team. There's no use in fighting now. I mean, we fought at war. It was a fight. You know, everybody was putting each other in headlocks, talking about each other, laughing and all. Okay, that's over with. Now that the people are here and they are in office, what can we do to work together?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So
and change things.
Yeah.
But that's the problem I have.
Yeah.
And when we didn't get the stimulus like that, I said, okay, you're supposed to be a Democrat and everybody promised to help us, but you're helping the poorest of the poor. That's good. You're helping some, okay, undocumented people, okay, fine, whatever. But what about me, a widow? I'm a widow of a Vietnam veteran on Social Security disability. What? And because I made a tab, I called one lady about last year, and I said, well, about 6-7 months ago, and she told me, and I didn't get her name, but she said about 6-7 months ago in his office, if you make 1 cent over 30,000, you cannot. I said, so if I make 1 cent over 30,000, I can't get the stimulus. Nope. And in fact, I made $130 more, I think it was, over 170 or something like that, over the 30,000, and that's why I couldn't get the Golden State stimulus. And so, I mean, they do have some good things. So the only advice I would tell people is one thing that they did do. They did pass.
I can barely hear you. Yeah, there's a little.
There are programs still available. They can still get like rental relief, but the problem is rental relief is taking so slow, and it's taking so slow. And everybody's almost on the verge of being thrown outdoors, and the moratorium has been lifted.
So here's what I would say. I agree. There's a lot of issues there. I've actually got to pop off the phone because it's 10:17 and my dogs are right here pushing me to go outside to let them outside.
I don't mean to be so loquacious, but I just want to say that I don't have nothing against nobody. I'm not trying to slam anybody, Republican or Democrat. I just think that it's a hot mess and we need to come together.
I agree.
And I agree. You have a great night and thank you for your time and patience.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a wonderful, wonderful.
God bless. Bye.
You as well. Bye-bye. So real quick, guys, we're past the usual time. It's 10:17. I've got to take the doggies out because they're here bitching at me with big smiles. Sweetie has a huge smile. I will catch you guys a little bit later. Political agendas, all that stuff. I would say, and here's Shadow. Hi, Shadow. Shadow's ready to go. So, anyways, guys, catch up with me next week. There were so many people that called in today. We probably didn't even get to a sixth of them, maybe an eighth of them, but I don't know. We'll have to figure out something to go ahead and do more actually answering calls and stuff like that. But you have a wonderful night. Shadow's going to go outside and go to the bathroom along with Sweetie. I will catch you a little bit later. And as Shadow pushes the computer over, have a wonderful night. And thank you so much, guys. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.